Hi you guys, welcome back to another client makeup tutorial. In today's video, we are introducing my baby sister, Michelle. She's actually not the baby. She's older than Miles, which she's a part of the twins. It's Miles and Michelle, and then Kiesia is actually the youngest sister that I have, but Michelle hasn't been on my channel yet, so here she is. I'm using the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil number 5 to fill in her brows. She does suffer from alopecia, so as you can see, she kind of doesn't really have very much eyebrow hairs. They're there, but they're not distinct, so she does fill in her brows pretty much every day, but for me, I just wanted to follow whatever hair strokes that she did have, not make them overly thick, not make them overly thin. I just wanted to make them as natural as possible because I know it is, I don't want to say like a sensitive spot, but it is for her. So I wanted to make sure that her eyebrows were on fleek and looking nice. Now I could have gone in with a red since she is wearing a nice kind of like fall gingery red orange kind of wig, but like I said, I wanted to keep it natural. I wanted to make it, you know, exactly as it normally would. So now I'm using the Cover FX Power Play Concealer. This is in Deep 1, and this concealer is like one of my favorite concealers to carve out underneath the brows. It's nice and thin, but it still covers really well. I'm using a Sigma E15 flat definer brush to go ahead and clean up and carve out underneath of the brows. I'm going to drag that down, and then I'm going to use the same concealer to prime for the lids. So I personally like to use concealer to prime just because it acts like it doesn't crease. It acts as it would underneath of your eyes, but just on top of your eyes, and it also keeps the same cohesive color. So if you weren't putting a lot of eyeshadow on your lids, it would be the same as the color underneath of your under eye. I personally also like to set down my concealer with the translucent setting powder, and then we're going to go into the ABH Jackie Aina palette, and I'm using Ginger out of this palette with a Morphe blending brush. This came out of their Dazzling Christmas set, I believe, last year, but it's just like a nice big fluffy brush. I'm working this into the crease in windshield wiper motions. I am only going to do one eye on camera as I usually do. This eye look isn't intricate at all. This is such an easy fall look that I feel like any of you guys could do. Now, the only thing is I'm going to go in with another palette, but you can use edges out of this palette to create the same eye look. So I wanted to make sure that I threw that in there so you guys understood that. But I am going into the Dominique Cosmetics what is this, the Celestial Storm palette, and I'm taking the burnt deep orange shade out of this palette with just a nice big fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I'm packing this on to the lid, and this is going to go all the way from the lash line all the way up into the crease, and then it'll get blown out into the crease. But as I mentioned before, if you do have the Jackie Aina palette, you can use edges out of that palette to create the same eye look. I just wanted something a little bit more reddish orangey to match her hair color a lot better. This is such a pretty color. It's such a pretty color, and it would be so bomb as a transition shade for someone that's a little bit darker. But either way you go, if you have the Dominique Cosmetics palette or you have the Jackie Aina palette, you can create this look with either one of those palettes, just substituting colors. Or if you don't have any of those, you can use whatever color you have in your collection and just substitute the colors. You can do that with everything every eye look that you watch on YouTube. I am going to take a little bit of the Desi Katy highlighter in Chasing the Sun. This is from their collaboration with Dose of Colors. This is going to go underneath of her brow bone. Then I'm going to take a Dose of Colors glitter eyeliner in the shade Dazzling. This is from their Mickey collection, their Mickey Mouse collection, and I'm just going to draw a line straight across her lash line. I'm not going to do a wing or anything like that. I wanted to creep it straight across. Then I'm going to use a NYX glitter, and this is in the shade Dubai Bronze. So it's not necessarily bronze. It has a little bit of orange tint to it, a little coppery hues, but it is still a little bronze. Like it still gives off that bronze, but it'll go with the brow bone since the eye look is matte. I wanted to have a little bit of drama, a little bit of sparkle, so I just went over it with the glitter. So now that everything's cleaned up, I'm going to prime her skin. I'm using the Milk Cosmetics Hydro Grip Primer. I've been loving this primer for all skin types. It creates a nice tacky base, so that way that the foundation actually grips and grabs onto it. After I do that, I am going to color correct. She does have darkness under her eyes. she works a ton, you guys. Like, she is always working. So I'm just going to color correct that with a little bit of this coral colored color corrector. You don't have to do this on an everyday basis if you don't want to, but for those days where you really want to make sure that those bags and dark spots and dark under eye circles are covered, you want to go in with a color corrector. So for foundation, I'm using the Cover FX Power Play Foundation in 80. This foundation is thebomb.com. This foundation and concealer is thebomb.com. Unfortunately for myself, the Cover FX concealer and foundation that I have, it doesn't really match too well. So it doesn't really look too well on me. I don't really wear them, but for clients, absolutely love it. I use this on pretty much all of my girls that are around this skin tone, and it looks phenomenal on them. So I'm just going back in with the Power Play Concealer and In Deep 1 to go ahead and highlight the skin. When you're highlighting, you want to go in with a shade that's about 2 to 3 shades lighter, depending on how highlighted you want to be. I like to go about 2 to 3 shades lighter to give that really like brightened and lifted effect. And then I'm going to go in with the Kylie Cosmetics setting powder in yellow, which is kind of translucent, but it kind of has a small tinge to it, a color tinge, not too much. And I'm going to go ahead and bake her skin. I'm going to use a sponge to place this all over, and she was like, ooh, look at my cheekbones. I'm getting my cheekbones ready because now I'm going to go in and bronze up the skin. So for bronzer, I use the Benefit Cosmetics Hoola Bronzer. They came out with 2 darker shades, and I absolutely love these bronzers for medium skin tones. So first, I always use Caramel. Caramel just warms up the skin, gives the skin a little more color, a little more dimension, and then after that I go in with the deeper shade, which is Toasted, which is supposed to be for darker skin tone, but I don't think that it looks very well for darker skin tone. But when I use it on this skin tone and I just apply it just right in the hollows and right around the edges, it just adds the perfect amount of warmth and deepness and depth to the skin that it looks phenomenal. I absolutely love these bronzers. They're so good, and they're not too expensive. So after I brushed away the powder, I'm just using a little more of Caramel just to go along the side of her nose, just to slim it down, or just to contour it, to snatch it. I'm not doing too much to it. And then I'm going to take Lunar Eclipse as well, again I mean, and take that on the lower lash line. I'm using a Moda Brushes pencil brush to do this and just smoking it out. I am going to take a little bit of ginger as well, just to go right underneath of that after I've blown it out, just to make it a little more blown out. I'm taking the same big fluffy brush and just connecting it out on the outer edge, making sure that it's a nice rounded kind of look. And then for blush, I'm using the Cover FX blush in Warm Honey. This is their monochromatic duo brush. So first I go in with the matte side, and then I'll take the shimmer side just to add a little bit of shimmer to the cheekbones, like right on the apples of the cheek. I didn't realize I was using so much Cover FX stuff, but I really was. As you can see, I have my favorites. I'm using a little more of Chasing the Sun just to highlight the high points of her skin. So I'm going to do the tip and the bridge of the nose. Then I'm going to have her turn her cheek to the side and get the cheekbone, and then the other cheekbone, and then I'm going to do the middle of her forehead and also her upper lip. These are just all of the points that I really like to accentuate. Just because that's where the light would naturally hit, and you want to be snatched, y'all, snatched. So this is the Milk Cosmetics Flex Highlighter. I love this highlighter. It's in the shade Iced, and it is bomb. I used this on a couple clients this past weekend, and it has become my favorite highlighter. Like, it's just so nice, you guys. A little goes a long way. And I'm also going to place that into the inner corner, just so that way she has a nice shimmery pop in the inner corner, because I felt like this would have looked nice matte, but it just needed something a little pop in the inner corner, you know what I mean? And finally, I'm going to spray her face with some of this Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. The reason I'm using a mist is because she has the matte eyeshadow in a spray. it might sputtle and change the color and all of that, so I didn't want to go with that. So we're moving on to the lips, and I'm going to use the MAC Cork lip liner just to give a little bit of dimension to the lips, nothing too much, because I am going to go in with a lipstick. This is the Dose of Colors liquid lipstick. I think it's in the shade Cork, but I'm not sure because the sticker came off of the bottom, so I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say it's Cork because I've used it in a video before. And I wanted to go with a little more orangey terracotta-y color, but I didn't really like it, so I went in with Catching Feelings. This is a little mini Dose of Colors liquid lipstick. It's a nude, and I just put that in the center, had her blot her lips together, and that would have looked really cute just like that. But I felt like she needed a glossy lip because of the matte eyes, so I took the Milani Keep It Full. This is a nourishing lip plumper in the shade Gold Dust, and just applied that right over the lips, and that pretty much is it. I think I do go back in and apply some black eyeshadow though. I set her face once again with the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist just to make sure everything is nice and refreshed. I always go in twice and set their face twice. That's just always what I do. But now I'm taking a black eyeshadow from the ABH Prism palette. It was just the first palette that I grabbed that had a black eyeshadow in it. And just taking that on another E15 flat definer brush. Sorry, my hair was in the way in all of these clips, you guys. I didn't think to even pull it back and tuck it back or anything. But after I put it really tightly to her lower lash line, I smudged it out, applied mascara, and then that was it, you guys. That completed the look. It's so beautiful. She just looked so gorgeous. And the hair, we ended up wetting it, putting a little bit of cream in it to give it that kind of wet, wavy kind of look, and that was it. This is such a fly girl fall look. Like, anybody can create it, anybody can do it. It's so simple. I'd love to see your recreations. Please make sure you subscribe before you go, and we'll see you soon. Mwah. Bye.